any state agency here has not done their job properly, if any individual has not done their job properly, I would expect that they will be held accountable. I absolutely stand by that. A child is missing, presumed dead. I am absolutely adamant if there were failings here, they need to be addressed and people need to be held accountable. There was a young boy that hasn't been seen in 2 years. That's not acceptable. That's not to be tolerated by anybody. We need to know what has happened here and we need to make sure that those who are responsible are held accountable.
Welcome to Global South Conversation. My name is Ismail Akwei. Our conversation today is on Ireland's Child and Family Agency, also known as Tusla. For decades, this agency has been under scrutiny for their inability to save children, which is what they are supposed to do. And these children face neglect, exploitation, and sexual abuse. We are diving deep into the matter with Professor Mehari Fisseha, an international law and diplomacy scholar based in Ireland. Professor Fisseha, thank you for joining us. Can you start by sharing your personal experience with Tusla? What did you encounter?
Okay, Tusla is a state-sponsored agency, for child and family in Ireland, and Tusla has been criticized by different community or social groups in Ireland for failing to protect children of all types or sorts of children in the country. We have to also understand that Ireland, in Ireland, there were 9,000 babies were murdered a couple of years ago under the institutes of what we call Catholic Church. These 9,000 babies, when they were killed under the Catholic Church institutes, the government never intervened to protect these 9,000 children. Now, in the same token, with a different format, there is what we call Tusla. It's a part 2 extension of what happened a couple of years ago. So this Tusla, they look for excuses or pretext to take children from vulnerable group of people. Could be migrants, could be single mothers or single family parents, and all that. They target children and take these children and mistreat them. They use them for medical experiments and clinical trials. The report clearly shows that in 2024, in 2023, I think, or between 2023 to 2024, there were 276 children were taken and used for medical experiments and clinical trials. Out of these 276, all of them were given a wrong medication, but I think 28 or 30 of them were severely affected. So the report says that 276 children, given a wrong medication without the parents' consent. This is crimes against humanity. This is crimes.
Well, the figures you are mentioning, they are indeed in the public domain from when the babies had died in the past out of neglect, and also currently having a lot of children who are facing a lot of neglect in care of Tusla, also being placed in unregulated placements and kept from their families, and also no aftercare plans. Now, these are all things that have come up, but if you say they are being used for medical experiment, isn't it the care that they are being given that caused the situation of the children being being dead and also others being in a very bad state? Would you really have to call that medical experiment?
Look, the HSE, which is the Health Service Executive, clearly apologized for the family members.
So there were apologies. There were apologies for the children being denied their rights when it comes to being taken care of. Some have committed suicide and other things like that. But there have been so many calls for independent investigations into the actions of Tusla. And Tusla is saying that they don't have funding to get the right care for these children, these vulnerable children. So some of these things have come up. But let's just go straight into it. What did you really encounter personally?
I mean, personally, like even my own family member was taken from the family members, okay, and then this child was given a wrong medication, okay, and then he was sexually molested, physically beaten up, okay. I mean, a lot of things happened to this child. I mean, there are lots of children in the country that are actually sexually molested. I mean, yesterday, just yesterday, look, this is a newspaper. This is just a newspaper, the Irish Times. So if you read here, if you read it, business caring for vulnerable children supplied fake police waiting. So what's happening here is that these so-called institutes that are looking for that are looking after children, they produce a fake police waiting. So the police actually give them without a proper investigation. I mean, every day, newspapers comes out about how children are dying. I mean, think about it like this: between 2019 until 2024, 1,265 children have been missing. So where are these children? The minister for children said we cannot find these children. Some of them died, and some of them nowhere to be found. Is this not crimes against humanity? I mean, the Rome Statute of Article 7K clearly say that the state knowingly failed to protect civilian population. These are not adults, these are minors, underage children. The government is aware of what is happening, but then they just ignore these vulnerable children, and the family members, a lot of family members are committing suicide at the moment. There you go. So these children are vulnerable. With this institute, there is an outcry from left to right, top to bottom in the country, where this institute should be closed down. But again, the damage, Ismail, the damage they have caused to the families, to these children, you cannot compensate in monetary terms. You cannot. I mean, your own child, I mean, Ismail, just give me your own child, a healthy child, giving injection, medication, 12 types of medication, and then the doctor issue you a letter. We have tried, Ismail, all sort of medication, try and error on your son, on your daughter, on your child. This is from the psychologist report. How do you feel?
You're right, because we've had judges, we've had members of parliament and other
Exactly.
people calling on Tusla to follow court orders, because court is ordering that they have to deliver some of the missing children. And just last year, about 395 children were denied their rights to care, and others who were under them were having all these issues. But can you tell us? At what point do you realize that your family member had gone through such a case and was going through or getting medications that were not right for that family member? And what did you do about it?
I contacted the authorities. I mean, look, I mean, one would probably think Ireland is a Western country. It's in a democratic country in the Western Europe. That would probably an African person would think from Africa. I tell you this, after living in Ireland for 24 years, this is the most corrupt country I've ever lived in Europe. Judges, police officers, social workers, lawyers, they all work together. It's a cartel. You see, Drug cartel is a big money in the world, isn't it? Child welfare is a big lucrative business for lawyers, for police officers. If a child is taken from the parents, the police has a job, the social worker has a job, a lawyer would have a job, and the judge would have a job. So it is a vicious circle where all stakeholders, from the judge, from the court, judge is the court system, lawyers, police department, social welfare, they all are benefiting from child cartel business in Ireland. Ireland is the most corrupt country I've ever seen in the entire world. Now, Ireland is trying to portray itself by trying to help Africa and Africans in African continent. Ireland is trying to portray itself to help Ukrainian refugees, Ukrainian child and women in Ukraine. Ireland trying to portray itself in helping the Palestinian in Gaza. That's all a mask. That's all a camouflage, dressing in a fake facade, killing children. Look at how many African children are dying in Ireland due to these heinous crimes. This is crimes against humanity. Africans, wherever they live, they should unite and fight this evil system. Our African children are dying in the hands of the Irish government. Look, I'm just saying an African children, but it's also the white children are suffering. Majority white children are dying in the country because of this ill system. It's a lucrative business, and the international community has to know this. We have to expose Ismail. You as a media expert, me as a human rights expert, we have to expose, because this is not right. Slavery is past and gone long time ago. Our African children should not be targeted in this way.
So, what do you see as the main solution to this problem? Because currently, Tusla is saying they don't have funding, they are under-resourced, and that is causing them to be slow at reacting to some situations or issues out there. It's also getting social workers displaying unprofessional behavior, while we see things like omissions of reports, things like non-compliance with court orders, and also a lot of spending on protecting themselves from court summons and all these things and court cases. So what do you think should happen to Tusla right now, and what should the Irish government do, because it's their own agency?
I mean, which part of the world that the court order is neglected? If it's maybe in Africa, because we don't have some sort of rule of law or justice in Africa. This is Europe, where the court orders were ignored because Tusla is a government. The government is profiting from all these vulnerable children. You see, the criminal justice system is so corrupt. Judges, in which part of the world a judge sexually molested 6 boys? Where does this happen? Tell me. It's in the newspaper. 6 boys were sexually molested by a judge. A police officer sexually molesting small boys. Where does this happen? In the Western world. Okay? Priest, Catholic Church priest, sexually molested. Just recently, a previous priest in Northern Ireland, he sexually molested 2,000 children. 2,000 children. And he's walking freely. Where does this happen in the world? So everything what is happening in Ireland about children, it's the government that is doing it. Let's talk about the budget. Tusla has 1.6 billion euros budget for 1 year. So now, are you saying that these people don't have money? They are wasting the government's money in whatever they do. You see, the social workers, they know they have protection from the police, from lawyers, and from the state. So they have got no problem of destroying children because there is no accountability from the court, because the court will protect them, the police protect them, the government protect them, and lawyers protect them. So it's a cartel. Children are affected. And I think the African Union of Human Rights Commission should investigate this, because we the people, Africans, are a victim of this. In Ireland, there are a lot of family members scattered everywhere, destroyed their children. I mean, you would think this has happened maybe during Nazi Germany, during Hitler time. That was then that children were used for medical experiments and clinical trials. In this DNA age, your child taken by force from your own care and used for medical experiments, and then the state will issue you an apology letter. I mean, Ismail, where does this happen? Sometimes I just wonder about this country.
On what basis do they take the children? Because they are supposed to take children in their care when there's neglect. So on what basis are they taking the children? And let's bring
I
it
mean,
to a personal level. What have you encountered? And were they bases that were not factual? Were they based on lies? How did they and why did they take the children?
based on lies. For instance, if they see a family member, like let's say a single mother, and she has like 3 or 4 children, or she can't raise all these children by herself, so we have to take one of them or two of them, and then you will never see them again. That's number one. Number two, if you have, let's say, domestic violence, okay? I mean, in any family household, I mean, in Africa, in Asia, we have domestic violence in a sense, husband and wife fight. But then they use that as a pretext, okay? As a pretext, or there is a chaos in the house, so we'll take one or two. You see, most of Africans don't know their rights in Ireland, and they are very scared and timid to come up front and fight for their human rights, and that is the other problem. Even the Irish, the white Irish, they have been intimidated. I'm telling you, there are a lot of white Irish, their children sexually molested, and lots of them commit suicide. I mean, I have reports. You will be shocked if I show you what reports I have here. I have all sorts of reports, and if needs be, I am willing to travel to Africa to produce these documents, this evidence to the African Human Rights Commission in Banjul, Gambia, or wherever they are, to show that these crimes against humanity is committed against African children in Ireland. And I am really pleading to all Africans living in Africa, living in Asia, in Europe or America, please stand up and stand up for your rights, for the humanity of African children in Ireland, because they are dying.
So what are the minority parents doing? Are they coming together to file maybe a case in court, or what's going on right now?
I mean, they are so corrupt. The court system is so corrupt. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you have read it yourself. The court summoned Tusla. The court gave an order to Tusla. What did Tusla say? We don't care about you. Do whatever you do. Who's going to, because Tusla is a state, is the government. The government is complicit. This is what I'm saying to you. What is happening in Ireland is crimes against humanity under the Rome Statute Article 7K, because the government knowingly attacking children, vulnerable children, and that fulfills crimes against humanity criteria, so that state should be held accountable.
So what kind of reforms would you like to see happen immediately, and how do you think Ireland can rebuild trust with parents, especially the immigrant communities who feel betrayed by the system?
I mean, this Tusla has to be abolished. They have to be closed down. I'm not saying that only. The entire white Irish population are saying it in every platform. You go to TikTok, you go to Facebook, you go to Instagram, you go to every types of platforms. They are crying. You won't see a lot of Africans crying because they are scared, but a lot of Irish white families are crying committing suicide because they can't get justice. Their children were taken. Their children were sexually molested, physically beaten up, used for medical experiments and clinical trials. I mean, are African children like taken like a guinea pig? I mean, why would they be selected and used such kind of medication on them without the parents' consent? I mean, where does this happen in 21st century that African children were mistreated in this way? Because they know the Africans cannot fight. They are scared. You see?
What advice? What advice would you give victims right now? Families who are have their children out of their hands and they are seeing things going on that they don't like. What advice would you give them? What can they do right now?
Well, they have to come together. They have to come together, and these are their children. They have to come together and fight for justice. You know, and as an African like myself, yes, my family member, one of my family member was affected in this. But again, I see a lot of African families, their life is destroyed. A lot of white Irish, I mean, they are also human beings. The white Irish, they are children. Child is child, regardless of the color of their skin. You know, their children also affected by the police force, by the judges, by the social workers. I mean, if you see the report is shocking. This is in public domain. There is no secret about it. You see? So, I mean, the government is exposing itself to the world, actually, because they keep publishing all these newspapers here about how children are dying. But yet, there is no one to come up front and challenge them. And that's what I'm doing. I am taking risk of my life to say, you know what? I am an academician. I'm a human rights law expert and a professor. I will never keep quiet, because if I do that, that is unethical and coward. That's what it is. If I don't act upon my education, when you take your PhD, you swear that you use your PhD for the sake of humanity, to serve communities. That is the pledge I did when I took my PhD. So I'm not going to sit down here, okay, I'm a professor, I'm getting my good money, I have good life, and who cares whether children dying or not? I will never say that. I will never say that. I will fight for social justice. I will fight for human rights. I will fight for African children and African people. In general, I will fight for humanity, whether it's white, green, yellow, red child. I will fight for justice.
And what message would you like to send to policymakers, to other parents in Ireland, and to the wider global community about protecting children?
I mean, does the Irish government listen? That is the problem. Because they need it. It's like a fuel, a car, a vehicle. In order to move around, it needs fuel. For a government to have a business, they need these children. You see, when they have 200, 300 children under their care, there is a budget for them to be looked after. So who looked after them? The police protect them. The court system. Social workers have business. Tusla has business. So it's a cartel. They need to have these children. But at the expense of child's life, their life is getting better. Government employees getting better. They pay their mortgage. They pay their car loans. They pay their holiday fees, whatever, at the expense of children, while the children are dying. And that is the problem. The legal system in Ireland is so corrupt. You would never think that Ireland would have this kind of irregularities in the world. Africans have to wake up and see the reality. Ireland is not what you think, like any other European countries like Germany, Scandinavian, or France, or any other countries. It is very, 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 very corrupt country under the camouflage of humanity, whatever they call themselves, you know.
So finally, I want to know what happened to your family member. Were they able to survive the system?
Well, not yet, because I am actually fighting for them, you know. But you see, I'm a single man. I'm just an individual person. I'm fighting against the state, a corrupt system. I am challenging a corrupt lawyers. I am challenging corrupt court system. I'm challenging social workers, Tusla, who has 1.3 billion or 1.6 billion budget. I am by myself, an African man, challenging the Irish state by himself. That's why I'm saying I need like you people, Ismail. I need Africans, intellectuals, government officials from Africa to cooperate with me, to collaborate with me, because this is slavery in a different name. Crimes against humanity is committed against the people of color in Ireland.
Okay. Finally, are you already in court, or you have plans of taking some legal action?
Well, that would be a bit private issues, because I don't want to give a lot of information to your enemies, I would say, to your opposite parties. I always say, when you do things your own way, it's better to keep it for your own way, or on your own way. So
Okay.
I rather keep things like that for my own privacy, and for my own work of ethics. I rather not to disclose any further information on the legal terms. But
Okay.
what I can say to you is that I will challenge the status quo of the Irish government by taking this risk for African, white, anybody's children in Ireland. And I need help from all people in Africa, from West Africa, South Africa, North Africa, or Eastern Africa. I need the African government and like human rights organizations or any individuals who could contact me to find out about this issue, because this is disgrace for the country, for Ireland and its people as well, because what is happening here is absolutely shameful.
We have a very serious problem of child trafficking and child sexual exploitation in this country. Aintu has exposed a number of alarming facts in recent weeks. I want to put some of these statistics on the record here today. There are currently 37 children missing from Tusla's care. 32 of these children were refugees or were seeking international protection in Ireland. That since 2021, Tusla have made referrals for 161 children to the Gardaí who were suspected of being victims of child sexual exploitation, which is a form of child trafficking. 115 of these children were in care, while 46 were known to Tusla. Since 2014, a total of 235 children, either in state care or known to Tusla, have died. 10 of these children were murdered and 51 of them died either by suicide or drug overdoses. Tusla has admitted to us that they accommodated 66 children in hotels over the last 6 months. These are unregulated placements by third-party providers. We need to have a proper debate on child protection in this chamber. I commend the group MECPATS for the work they have done in raising awareness about trafficking. Aintu has worked closely with them in the past, and I know they appreciate the proposal from Senator Flynn also. I would also like ask the government not to oppose these very basic but timely legislation.